Hello?
Hello?
Oh, hi. This is
Hi.
this is Lori Belong from Belleville West. We just want to welcome you.
Awesome. That's great.
Thanks so much for doing this with us today. We're trying to
Absolutely.
celebrate reading, and a lot of your kids love your books. And so I don't know if you want to do a little introduction for us, maybe?
Hi, I'm Ellen. So how many of you guys have read one of my books? Oh, awesome. Okay. I'm liking you guys. That's great. Let's see. Why don't I just tell you what I'm working on right now? How's that sound?
That sounds good. Hey, one other thing I was going to tell you, that what we have is like a select group of kids, but a lot of kids are watching you in their classroom. So you actually have a huge audience. I'm hoping they're watching right now.
That's awesome.
And actually, we need 3 minutes till the second bell rings. We just wanted to make sure you were here.
Okay. Hang on. I'm going to grab a copy of Perfect. Maybe I'll read a little of it.
Ooh, that'd be great.
So you notice my shirt, right?
That's great.
Okay, we're gonna wait for the bell then, or?
It's about, you think we're ready for I think we're fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let's see. Perfect, this is the one coming out in September. So you guys see that, right? This is, these are advanced reader copies. So the book, it's like, this is what they send to like reviewers or librarians or booksellers to kind of get some early, get it in the stores, get people excited about the book. So it's not really a finished book yet. It's an arc. So that's Perfect. I'm going to read a little bit from that one. This is the one that will be out in September, which is my first adult book. Little different cover, huh? Kind of an adult cover. This is Triangles. And so this is also an arc. So you can see it's not a finished book yet. There still will be mistakes in these books. So I'm just finished doing the kind of copy edit, the kind of nitpicky stuff on both of these books. So while I'm writing a book, I'm also working on the copy edit stuff of this. So like I'm always doing about 9,000 projects at once. No, at least 3 or 4. But it feels like 9,000 projects sometimes. So just finished the Triangles one. Perfect is done. And the book I'm writing right now is Tilt, which is a companion novel to the adult book. So like the adult book is about 3 women kind of going through like midlife meltdowns. And so they ended up with teen, kids in the book. And then the teen kids started going, hey, you know what? I got a story. So now I'm writing the story of 3 of those kids that you'll find actually in the adult book. So that's what I'm writing. And working on these, doing a lot of travel right now. I just got back. Let's see, where have I been in May? I've been to Orlando. I've been to Rochester, New York, South Bend, Indiana, Hilliard, Ohio, Fargo, Pelican Rapids, Minnesota. And next week I go to New York City for Book Expo America BEA. So a lot of travel and trying to write books and trying to do all this. So I'm like kind of manically busy, but that's kind of like, see, my motto is better busy than bored. So how about I read a little, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, no, we hear you fine.
Okay.
Do you want us to start with questions or?
Sure.
All right. Well, here we have our first one.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Hopkins. I'm Dean Foltz, and my question is, what inspired you to start writing books?
Like I was always writing, I'm just kind of like from the time I figured out how to write, like how to put a pencil to paper, I was, it's kind of been inside me that I'm a storyteller. So and a poet. So I've always been writing poetry, always been writing short stories, even when I wasn't writing for publication. It's just always been an interest of mine. I was writing nonfiction. I was, a journalist, so I was a freelance journalist. And then from there I moved into nonfiction for children. So before I started writing novels, I actually published 20 nonfiction books, mostly middle grade. Some skew a little younger, some skew a little older, but like on history and science and biographies and like that. So it just has always been something that called to me. As far as the novels, I think probably most nonfiction writers have fiction projects going somewhere, or are considering something a little more creative than the nonfiction. And so, I thought I might write picture books or chapter books. I knew I wanted to write for young people. I just didn't know exactly where I belonged until Crank, which was my first novel, which was a very personal story, obviously. That was a book that I kind of had to write, and it belonged on a young adult level, which is kind of what put me here. So.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Alexis Newell, and my question for you is, how do you stay motivated during writing?
That's better. Try again.
Hi, my name's Alexis Newell, and my question for you is, how do you stay motivated during writing?
How do I stay motivated? I'm getting paid to be motivated, so that's kind of helpful. That's actually very helpful. And again, it's just something, motivation to write for me is not difficult. That's like the best part of every day, is if I can sit here and write books, that's like a magical day for me. It's the stuff that pulls me away that requires motivation, errands and yard work, and I'm now homeschooling my son, that kind of stuff. That I need kind of coffee to be motivated. But no, I don't need motivation to write. It's just something that I need to do. It's my heart.
Thank you.
You have to go all the way into the mic, so I can't hear you.
Hi, my name is Melina Huerta, and my question to you is, why do you format your books to be more like poetry than regular novels?
It's the genre is verse novel. I'm not the only one that writes that way, and it's actually a very ancient form of writing. Homer and Chaucer and Shakespeare and Joyce, those people wrote stories in verse, narrative verse. I started Crank, my first novel, in prose, but the voice was not right. The voice was, again, Crank is loosely based on my daughter's story, and I wanted to write first person from her point of view. And so the voice in prose was my voice. It was too angry. Put the book away. I went to a writer's conference where I saw Sonia Sones, who's another verse novelist, speak. And I've always been writing poetry, and it just struck me that I should try putting the poetry together with the fiction. And it worked for me. And, I've kind of discovered a love for it, for sure, and some sort of talent for it as well. And now my readers are kind of looking for the verse, enjoying it. I like the visual interest on the page. I like making every word count, which is a real challenge for a writer. And so I like it.
Thank you.
Hi, Ms. Hopkins. My name is Sarah Jones, and my question for you is, how long did it take you to get published?
Well, again, it was kind of a process. So, when I started writing as a career, and what had happened then is, I kind of took a detour away. I studied journalism in college and dropped out to get married, have some kids, and start my own business. And then eventually I moved to Lake Tahoe and sold my business. And I just kind of decided I didn't want a day job. So I went back into freelance writing first. So I was building kind of a writer's bio. It's not that hard to freelance. It's not that hard to break in there. So that's kind of where I broke in. And then from there, I became interested in nonfiction because of some articles I wrote that I thought would be interesting books for young people. on aviation, on orcas, on, just different subject matter. So that was, that process was about, I don't know, the freelance writing, I started in about 1993 or 4, I guess. And so, I published that way, and then I published the nonfiction, and that wasn't that hard to break into. It was the educational market, where that's a pretty strong market. As far as the fiction, how I publish Crank is kind of interesting. It's I had like 10 pages of it done, and I sat down at a writer's conference with an editor from Simon & Schuster and showed her a picture book I'd done, and she's like, "This is beautiful, but I don't do picture books. Do you have anything else?" And I had like that 10 pages of Crank, and I pulled that out and showed it to her, and she goes, "Send that to me when it's done." 2 months later, I had 75 pages finished. I emailed her and asked if she'd like an exclusive first look. That means I wouldn't show it to anybody else while she was, deciding. She said yes. Simon & Schuster sent me a contract to finish the book with only 75 pages done. So that's unusual. That's not, a first novel usually almost always has to be complete to get it published, but they sent me a contract. And, having the nonfiction books underneath me, they knew that I could meet deadlines and, I could finish a book. But that's kind of my journey into the fiction. I didn't even have a complete book, which is different.
Thank you.
Yep.
We have another question coming. I just want the people in classrooms that are watching, if you want to submit questions, make sure you spark Miss Barto, and that we can throw in some of those questions as well. Okay, girls.
Hi, Mrs. Hopkins. I'm going to lower those. My name is Anna Fishbein, and my question for you is, when you told your family about writing Crank, were they supportive of you, or did they not want you to write the book because it was such a personal experience for all of you?
I think there was some hesitation all the way around. But, when I first started the book, I didn't start it necessarily thinking about publication. Again, it was like this book that I kind of needed to write to gain some understanding. The time of our lives where we were fighting that addiction with my daughter was about 6 years. And until she actually went to prison at one point. And this is my kid. This was my perfect kid who had everything going. There goes my phone. So you just have to forgive that. She was like this perfect kid, that just... Hang on. Call from Merlin Cheryl. Ryan, can you tell Cheryl I can't talk right now? I forgot to take the phone out of my room. Yes, I did. So wait a minute. Where was I? Help me out. Where was I?
About your daughter going to prison.
Yeah. So that she was like this kid who she had all these big dreams and she had everything going for her. And that 6 years was like a time of our lives that I couldn't quite make sense of. And so when she went to prison, I started the book to develop, first of all, as a catharsis for me to write it out, and also to develop some kind of understanding of the choices she made. So I didn't start that book necessarily for you or for publication or any of that. I started it for me. And so I think they understood that I needed that. There was some hesitation. I tried to kind of make, change some of the characters and make them a little different. The family looked a little different. Like in real life, I have an older son who's gay and a younger daughter. And in the book, I made it an older daughter who's gay and a younger son. So I kind of tried to give the real players a little space that way. But I think they understood. And, especially once the book was written and they saw, what it accomplished not only for me, but for kind of a wider audience. Because, addiction doesn't just touch, it wasn't just my story. It's a story that touches a lot of lives. And so I think, once it became clear that the book was an important book, they were all good with it after. I don't know about when they first started, but they're all good with it now anyway. So.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Ray. I was wondering, when you were writing the Crank series, were you ever depressed?
It wasn't so much with Crank, but with Glass, that was the deeper part of her addiction. That was really that part of that addictive phase where we really saw the deterioration, and where her addiction really touched us so strongly. That book was a really hard book to write. I had to put it down, put it away several times, and there's certain scenes in that book that were very hard to relive. So yeah, and then with Fallout, trying to imagine, because I wrote Fallout kind of in the future. Hunter is 14 now, and I wrote him in the book at 19. So imagining a future as I know these children now, and know my daughter now, that was kind of hard, because I wanted to create something that could be but didn't have to be. And that's the one book that I haven't talked to her about yet. I gave it to her at Christmas, and we haven't discussed how she felt about, how I kind of wrote her in that book. So I don't know how she feels about that one.
Thank you.
Sorry if I look down sometimes, because I'm looking at you when I'm looking down. So.
Hi, I'm Justin Sternow, and my question is, how did you come up with the characters in Glass?
Well, a lot of them are based on kind of real people. So creating the characters in Glass wasn't that hard. It was, again, looking at them and looking at myself in relationship to them. So Marie Haskins in those books is pretty much, me. So, those characters are based on real people. They weren't that hard.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Zellup, and I was wondering, what author do you most admire and why?
That one author thing is really hard for me, because I like character-driven authors. So, and there's like a pretty wide range there. Stephen King is like historically, my kind of one of my favorite people, and I like him because he takes it's character-driven genre, you know what I mean? And a lot of horror and fantasy and like that isn't so character-driven, but he takes real people, characters that feel like real people, and puts them in these kind of really crazy, unique situations. And I think he does such a great job of showing how a regular person's emotions, like, if they're attacked by a rabid dog, or they're, attacked by vampires or zombies or whatever, it feels like real to me. So I think he does a really great job of that. Ken Kesey, who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Sometimes a Great Notion, which is one of my favorite books. Really hard author to read, but again, his character building is like so crazy good. John Irving, who did Hotel New Hampshire and World According to Garp, F. Scott Fitzgerald. So those people. And if you're talking about YA authors, they're friends, so it's hard to recommend one or two. Most of them, it's funny because we have a very, the young adult author community is like pretty tight. Most of us know each other. Okay, there are exceptions. We don't know J.K. Rowling, and we don't know Stephanie Meyer much, because those two kind of are very live isolated kind of lives. But the rest of us do events together. Sometimes we, go out afterwards, after events, party a little together, whatever. So we're really friends. So it's hard to recommend one.
Thank you.
Hello, Mrs. Hopkins. My name is Colin. I was wondering if you could tell us a little details about the books you're working on now and maybe read us a little bit out of them.
Yeah, actually I will. I'll go ahead and read some Perfect for you. Perfect, it's this book is a companion to Impulse. So Impulse is, the one about the 3 young people that are in a psych hospital after attempted suicides. One of those in Impulse is Connor, whose parents have given him that real push to be the perfect kid, the perfect student, the perfect jock. He had a twin sister in that book, Cara, that we didn't really meet. She's a main character in Perfect. So she has that same kind of push behind her. Then there's her boyfriend. So she's been accepted in Stanford already. Her boyfriend, Shawn. Sorry, I'm writing Shane in the other book. This is Shawn. also wants to get into Stanford, so he needs a baseball scholarship to do that. So he's taking steroids to kind of get those balls over the wall. There's Kendra, who's a cheerleader and pageant girl who wants to be a runway model. So she's, self-regulating her eating, considering surgeries, to kind of create that perfect face. And then there's Andre, who his parents also kind of have like pretty high dreams for him, and his dream is to dance, but he won't tell them that's what his dream is until he meets the girl that really encourages that dream for him. And so I'll read a little of each character for you. This is Cara Sierra Sykes. Perfect? How do you define a word without concrete meaning? To each his own, the saying goes, so why push to attain an ideal state of being that no two random people will agree is where you want to be? Faultless, finished, incomparable. People can never be these, and anyway, when did creating a flawless facade become a more vital goal than learning to love the person who lives inside your skin? The outside belongs to others. Only you should decide for you what is perfect. Perfection. I've lived with a pretense of perfection for 17 years. Give my room a cursory inspection, you'd think I have OCD. But it's only habit and not obsession that keeps it all orderly. Of course, I don't want to give the impression that it's all up to me. Most of the heavy labor is done by our housekeeper, Gwen. She's an imposing woman, not at all the type that most men would find attractive. Not even Connor, which is the point. My twin has a taste for older women. Before he got himself locked away, he chased after more than one. I should have told sooner about the one he caught, the one I happened to overhear him having a little afternoon fun with. Okay, I know a psychologist would say, strictly speaking, he was prey, not predator. And in a way, I can't really blame him. Emily is simply stunning. Connor wasn't the only one who used to watch her go running by our house every morning. But hello, she was his teacher. That fact alone should have been enough warning that things would not turn out well. I never would have expected Connor to attempt the coward's way out, though. Some consider suicide an act of honor. I seriously don't agree. But even if it were, you'd have to actually die. All Connor did was stain Mom's new white Berber carpet. They're replacing it now. Shawn. I have to find the right page. Oh, no, it's Kendra next. Pretty. That's what I am, I guess. I mean, people have been telling me that's what I am since I was 2, maybe younger. Pretty as a picture. Who wants to be a cliche? Pretty as an angel. Can you see them? Pretty as a butterfly. But isn't that really just a glam bug? Cliche, invisible, or insect-like, I grew up knowing I was pretty and believing everything good about me had to do with how I looked. The mirror was my best friend until it started telling me I wasn't really pretty enough. Pale beauty, that's what Mom calls the gift she gave me through genetics. We are Scandinavian willows with vanilla hair and glacier blue eyes and bone china skin. 2 hours in the sun turns me the color of ripe watermelon. When I lead cheers at football games, it is wearing SPF 60 sunblock. Gross. Basketball season is better, but I'll be glad when it's over. Between dance lessons and vocal training and helping out at the food bank, all grooming for Miss Teen Nevada, I barely have time for homework, let alone fun. At least staying busy mostly keeps my mind off Connor. I wish I could forget about him, but that's not possible. I tumbled hard for that guy, gave him all of me. I thought we had something special. He even let me see the scared little boy inside him, the one not many other people ever catch a glimpse of. Did he show that boy to the ambulance drivers who took him to the hospital, or to the doctors and nurses who dug the bullet out of his chest? Sewed him up, saved his life. I want to see him, but Cara says St. Mary's won't allow visitors. Bet he doesn't want them, scared he might look helpless. Now we get to Shawn. Buff. Don't like that word. Not tough enough to describe a weight-sculpted body. Built is better, like a builder frames a house, constructing its skeleton 2x4 by 2x4. A real athlete shapes himself muscle group by muscle group, ignoring the pain. Focus completely on the gain. It can't happen overnight. It takes hours every single day, and no one can force you to do it. Becoming the best takes a lot of inborn drive. That's what it takes to reach the top, and that is where I've set my sights. Second best means you lose, period. I will be the best damn first baseman ever in the league. My dad was a total baseball freak. weird considering he coached football. And when I was a kid, he went on and on about McGuire being the first base king. I grew up wanting to be first base royalty. T-ball, then years of Little League gave me the skills I need, but earning that crown demands more than skill. What it requires are arms, like Mark McGuire's. And finally, we have Andre Marcus Kane III. Bomb. Give most girls a way to describe me, that's what they'd say, that Andre Marcus Kane III is bomb. I struggle daily to maintain the pretense. Why must it be expected, no demanded of me, to surpass my ancestors' achievements? Why can't I be just a regular 17-year-old trying to make sense of life? But my path has been preordained without anyone even asking me what I want. Nobody seems to care that with every push to live up to their expectations, my own dreams vaporize. Don't get me wrong, I do understand my parents wanting only the best for me. I'm 100% tuned to the concept that life is a heck of a lot more enjoyable with a fast-flowing stream of money carrying you along. I like driving a pricey car, wearing clothes that feel like they want to be next to my skin. I love not having to be a living, breathing stereotype because of my color. Anytime I happen to think about it, I am grateful to my grandparents for their vision, grateful to my mom for her smarts, to my dad for his bald ambition and, yes, greed, not to mention his unreal intuition. But I'm sick of being pushed to follow in his footsteps. Real estate speculation, investment banking, neither interests me. Too much at risk, and when you lose major. I much prefer winning, even if it's winning small. I think more like my grandfather, Andre Marcus Kane Sr., embraced the color of his skin, refused to let it straitjacket him. He grew up in the urban nightmare called Oakland, with its rutted asphalt and crumbling cement and frozen dreams, all within sight of sprawling hillside mansions. So those are the three you're going to, four, that was four, right? The four you're going to meet in Perfect. And again, now I'm working on Tilt Though, which is, again, this kind of, it's about, these kids that are kind of related by their mom's friendship and being they're sisters and a friend. And so it covers teen pregnancy, HIV, and a younger girl who allows an older guy to kind of take advantage of her through an abusive relationship. So sexting and different topics. So that's what I'm working on.
Thank you.
That was a very long answer to your question, wasn't it?
Hi, my name is Alexandra Motes, and my question is, in the book Burn, does the main character follow through with her plan at the end and kill all the people that she planned to?
Well, you are going to have a sequel to that book in 2013. Oh. And it will start with one of those people dead on the floor and her on the run.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then it will also have a second voice, which will be her sister, Jackie, who the father was kind of abusing too. So she's kind of left behind to kind of help her mom take care of raising a family alone. So, and that one will also go, Patton will end up, she's on the run, so she will end up in a migrant worker camp. So we'll talk about hate crimes and racism as well.
Thank you.
Hello? Oh.
Hi.
Hi, Mrs. Hopkins. My name is Jessica Russell, and my question for you is, first I want to say I'm the biggest fan of your book, Burn. Sorry, I had to get that out. But do you have any plans to write a sequel for Burn like you did with Crank?
That's what I was just saying, yep. So I answered your question before you asked it. Yeah, and you know what? I never start any books expecting sequels or thinking about sequels. And I never planned a sequel to Burn, but enough readers wanted more of that. They kind of needed the closure, at least knowing what happened at the end, that I decided that one needed to have a sequel. So yeah, it will. And that will be the 2013, because the 2011 books, which I have two, again, Perfect in Triangles, then I'll have two books in 12, which will be Tilt and another adult book. which is going to be collateral, about deployment and kind of, what that means to the people left behind. So that'll be 2 books that I'm writing this year for next year. And then Smoke, which I actually did start already. So it's out there. It will happen, definitely.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, my name's Allie Wojcik, and I was wondering, was it ever difficult for you to write any of your books?
As far as subject matter, or as far as being blocked, or
The endings?
getting like from start A to point B,
Yes.
beginning to end. I don't usually block on story but my process is I have a theme, so teen suicide or whatever. I kind of know where it's going to end, because often in the writing process that will change. But if you kind of know where you want your book to end, you have something to work toward. And I don't outline, I don't plot going in. I just maybe major plot points that I know I want to have happen, and sometimes those come up through the writing as well. I start with character building, and so it's for me, character is central to what I do. So building those characters really carefully before I start helps me because then they start talking to me, and because I'm schizophrenic, my characters do talk to me. They're like, hello, wake up. I'm like, shut up, it's 4 a.m. I don't need to get up and write. And they'll go, yes, you do. So they do. They talk to me and they tell me their stories, and they kind of lead me through. So I kind of know, again, where I want them to end. Like with Perfect actually ends at Connor's funeral, and I knew I was going to end it there. So you will get to see, what happened after the Perfect paper airplane, really. So you get to see Tony and Vanessa again, and how his death affected the people that love him or knew him. So I knew that's where I wanted this book to end, and then so just writing kind of toward that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name's Emily Weber, and my question is, when you wrote Impulse, did anybody in particular inspire you to create Vanessa?
Vanessa is a combination of 2 people. Actually, the person that just called me on the phone, she was one of them. She's a friend of mine who actually is bipolar, and I have talked to her off of suicides a couple times. And then the cutting part came from, I have a younger friend. She's a reader who lives locally, and we kind of got to know each other. So that's where the cutting part. So it's kind of the 2 of those people put together. So I've kind of seen the bipolar mood swings and understand how that works. I understand how it leads, to kind of those thoughts that make them consider suicide. So yeah, very much so.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Alyssa, and my question is, have you ever had an overly obsessed fan that creeped you out or stalked you?
It's an interesting, a couple. There have been a couple, and they come in different kind of ways. Like one, I don't know, she kind of got mad because, okay, and this is a stupid thing because Facebook caps the number of friends you can have, So I was at my friend limit, and I had room for 20, which I was saving for family or friends, rather than readers. And so I told her I couldn't friend her, but she was welcome to contact me. She could message me or whatever. And then she saw somewhere that I had accepted, who happened to be my sister-in-law, as a friend. And then she got mad. She goes, you told me you couldn't have any more friends. And I mean, she slammed me. She was mean. She was kind of scary and weird. And then I had one time who sent me a Google Earth picture of my house and said, is this really? And she goes, is this where you live? And I was like, no, a long time ago. It was that was kind of weird. So yeah, and then there are ones that are just kind of are worrisome, you know what I mean? Not because I'm afraid for me so much as a lot of times because I write about deep, heavy subject matter. I have readers who, are going through problems or whatever. And so sometimes I worry about them. I worry for their safety. And so there's kind of this concern when I hear things like, I'm considering ending it all and then I don't hear from them. You know what I mean? So it's kind of almost a reverse stalkery thing where I'm like emailing them, hello, are you okay? So yeah, I mean, sometimes it gets a little weird, but.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dominic Lewis, and my question is, why do so many of your books deal with drug use and violence?
Well, Crank is about an addict. I mean, so there's 3 books there that are dealing with addiction. So there's drugs. And why are there drugs in the other ones? Because there are drugs in high school. There's violence in high school. There's, some people are abused. And I think, writing nice, light romance to me is there are enough people doing that. There are enough people writing vampire books, which are, by the way, violent. So I think I'm writing the teen experience. I think these things are touching teen lives. So I think it's important that, first of all, that we look at them, that we look at the causes for some of the issues touching your lives, and also for people whose lives that maybe they're not touching, to develop some empathy for those, the kid that's sitting in the back of the classroom all by themselves, depressed. I think it's important that you care about that person and maybe try to help them before they do end up, attempting suicide or something, you know what I mean? So I think it's important to write those subjects.
Thank you.
Hi, Mrs. Hopkins. My name is Jai Dewap. I have a question from Amanda, and she said, have you ever thought about making a movie based on your books?
Movies, for a movie to happen, a film company or a producer has to kind of take interest in the books. There's been interest, and Identical has been optioned, so I don't know if that one will get done or not, because an option just means they have, they can hang on to the right to make a movie for a year or 2. So that could happen. But again, it's not up to me. Like with the Crank books, because it's my story and not just my books, I'm kind of insisting on script approval, because you know how sometimes movies change things. And so that could keep a movie from ever happening, because some producers don't want to, allow the author to have any kind of say over what the script is. And I'm like, well, I kind of think I need to hang on to that. So it's possible they become movies. I would actually like to see, I'd like to see Burn be a movie. I think Burn would be a really great movie. So yeah, it's possible.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Krystal Stewart. I was wondering what your typical day as a writer is like.
Typical day, okay. My brain is like, again, it's kind of, it's always tuned into what I'm writing, which is kind of weird, I know. But so like sometimes I don't like dream books, but I dream from characters from books and whatever. So, and it's also light triggered. So I will wake up early thinking about scenes or characters or whatever. So I'm almost always up before 6 o'clock. I get up, my day consists of at least 2 hours of correspondence, which is answering emails, Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, not so much anymore, but all those things. It's about 2 hours of my day. Over 300 messages, friend requests, all that stuff a day to deal with. And I do try to answer them still all. It's getting harder and harder. But so I get up, I do about an hour of that. I make coffee, because by then I really need coffee. And then I kind of get my family, my husband and son kind of situated for the day. And then on a good day, I will spend 6 or 7 hours writing. And that's, like I said, that's the best part of any day for me. I can, then I will do like yard work or errands or whatever, kind of late afternoon. And evening I devote to spending time with my husband and son. So that's kind of my day. It's very busy. I know it probably seems like I just sit here and I do a lot of this, but That's harder work than you think. It really is.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jenna Brown, and my question for you is, do you plan on writing a book coming from your personal experiences and your point of view?
You mean like a memoir? Yeah, it's funny because I've had that request a lot, so it's probably something I don't plan that, but it's something I should probably think about, consider, because I had a lot of people suggest that, not to mention the ones that need to research me, they're like, there's not enough information about you. Are there any books? And I'm like, no, I got a wiki though. So it's possible in the future, but again, I'm writing my novels under contract, so I'm contracted right now to write 2 books a year for a couple of years. That's a lot of writing. It doesn't leave a lot of time for a lot of outside stuff. There's an anthology coming out called Dear Bully, which is about 70 YA authors who are writing about their experiences with either being bullied or being bullies. And so I wrote a foreword for that. I've been invited to do, it's kind of there'll be several authors that are going to build scenes called initiation. So it's like initiations that started at a funeral. And so Rita Garcia Williams, she wrote the first one, and so they want me to do the next one. So I'm going to build on what she wrote. So those kind of short projects I'm trying to fit in here. So memoir, sometime probably, but not right away.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Kennedy Brown, and I was wondering, have you ever had a period in time where you would stop writing books?
No. Not since I started doing this. Again, I'm writing under contract, so it's been a book a year, and now it's 2 books a year. But when I'm not writing, when I travel and I don't have, I might take a couple days because I don't have time to write, in a hotel room or whatever, I am so anxious to get back to my books and my works in progress. It's I'm like, I'm addicted to writing. It's I got to write. I have to write. So I don't plan to retire. I don't plan to quit writing ever. And even my husband's like, could you just take a vacation without writing? And I'm like, I take the laptop and I send them out to he goes, you want to go fishing? I'm like, no, you guys go fishing and I'll write. So yeah, it's kind of it's a need for me.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Natalie Goss, and I have a question from Mr. Bergman's class and the student's Adam. And his question is, do you plan to write anything completely out of left field, a different genre completely outside of your comfort zone?
Like horror, maybe. I actually thought I was going to be the next Stephen King, so that's a possibility. In Fallout, I don't know if you guys have read Fallout, but in the beginning, there are little articles they're newspaper articles in there that talk about, characters and what they're doing now, sort of thing. And so that one starts with Marie Haskins' book, a vampire book, coming out. And that's kind of making fun of myself because I'm not a huge Twilight fan. So that was kind of making fun of that. All my friends know that I'm not. So that was a joke. But I might actually write some horror. I've been invited to do a collection of short horror in verse. It's a possibility. Yeah, I might.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maggie Brown, and this is a question from Miss Thurnow's class, Oscar. How long does it take for you to write a book?
Crank took me about a year. I was still freelancing at the time and writing some nonfiction. I still had some nonfiction projects, so I was doing that stuff around the writing of that book. Glass and Burned and Impulse took me around 8 months. And then the other 6 months, and then now I'm writing them in about 4.5 months, which is pretty fast for me. But my process in that is that I don't write drafts. And I know English teachers are going, la, 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 la. But I revise heavily as I go because, if you've looked at my books, every word does have to count. And they all kind of feed very directly into the next. So I'm revising all the time as I go. And I can usually tell if I've taken a wrong turn within a page or two. It's like, why is this here? Okay, it doesn't need to be there. Goodbye, it goes. So 4 months to write a book, it's done. When, it goes into my editor finished after one draft, basically. And so, and revision on them has not been very long either. Your editor on the far end, is the one that kind of adjusts the revision process for you. And it's like, does this scene need to be here? Does this character need to be here, and why? But because I've become really good at what I do, efficient at what I do, in that 4.5 months it took me to write Triangles, which is the book I just turned in last, the revision came back and it was an hour revision. So I've become very good at what I do. Thank goodness, because again, I have to write 2 books in a year now. There's a lot of pressure actually to do that. It's like, can I do it? Can I do it? Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Tiffany, and I have a question from Miss Barto, our librarian. What do you think about libraries?
What I think about librarians, they totally rock. I love librarians. Are you kidding me? And libraries, and I'm a real champion for books and reading and librarians and libraries, and whatever form books take in the future, we still need people that can recommend books, and know what books are necessary for certain young people, or librarians, they have to know so much. It's interesting, and they feel safe. Libraries are like a safe place for a lot of people. It's like I can't see a time without libraries and librarians. That to me is like, that's a nightmare. That's a dystopian nightmare. No libraries, no librarians, boo.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Lily Powers, and I have a question from Miss Orsani's class named Jennifer. Were you a big reader in high school? What were you like as a high school student?
I have been a big reader. Like, my mom taught me reading before school. So I've been reading chapter books before kindergarten. I've always been a big reader. Love books, love language, literature. In high school, I started high school at kind of like a new school. And I knew nobody in high school. So that kind of put me on the edges, you know what I mean? And so I was always kind of trying to, make friends and push my way in. And I made friends, and I was kind of like the creative writing, theater, choir kind of geek. I was good at school. I was a straight A student, who was kind of a rebel though. So I was both. I don't know. I thought I was pretty cool, but maybe not everybody else did. I don't know. But I was a good student. I was a reader, definitely. Yeah.
Hi, Ms. Hopkins. My name is Corey Kriegler, and my question is, what advice would you have for an aspiring writer?
Okay, you need to read a lot, and you need to read cross genre. So don't just read if you like vampire books. You need to read contemporary. You need to read mystery. You need to read all different kinds of genres so you can see how story is built. You need to read books and see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And within that reading, you will figure out how to put together a story. Then you need to write, and you need to write every day, even if it's just a little bit, sentences, a journal. You need to be an observer, so you need to go out and kind of watch other people, listen to how they talk, write down in that journal, snippets of conversation, characteristics, character traits, that you see in other people, and keep that journal not only just hard copy. Everything you do, you shouldn't just keep hard copy. First of all, eventually it's all going to have to go into a computer anyway, because you're going to have to submit with it typed. So keep it not just on the hard drive, but keep it on a flash drive. Because I lost all the poetry I wrote in high school in a move because it got wet. So if I would have had it typed out on, on a flash drive that I could stick in my pocket or take with me when I went someplace, a fire, a flood, or whatever. So it's portable, and then you don't lose anything. So, that would be it.
Thank you.
And again, be an observer. It's really important that, you consider settings. When you travel, you go places and you keep settings in mind and other people in mind,
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jackie Stella, and I wanted to know if you had the chance to convey a message to all people, young and old, with your books, what would the message be?
That life's about choices. You guys are making choices now that will affect who you become as an adult or in the future. And so, consider choices really carefully because sometimes you can't take them back. Like for Christina, the real Christina, Krystal, she had the information to make better choices. She knew we do math education here. She knew that it could be an issue, and yet she made the choice to do it anyway. The same with something like, getting in a car and driving drunk or I don't know, risky behaviors that you might be able to fix later, but you might not. So, and adults need to consider their choices carefully too. It's not just about being young, but every choice you make kind of becomes part of who you are later. And so it's really important to think about those things before you do them.
Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Hopkins, we're getting close here. I just wanted to explain one of the reasons why we asked you today is that the English department, we had challenged the freshman class to read 1 million pages of pleasure reading. They read 1.4 million, and so that's today we're celebrating that. I'm pretty excited about it, too.
That's crazy.
So are we about done then? All right. So thanks so much. I know, this probably was one of those things that you would rather be writing, but, we really appreciated that you talked with us today, and we can't wait for your new books. And I know, I hope you're coming to the Allen Conference in Chicago next November, because then we'll see you again. So,
awesome.
So thanks so much, and have a good evening.
All right, thank you.